Hello and welcome to the Scatterbolt channel, and today we're going to be building the best $1,000 gaming PC for 2025. So if you want to build yourself a gaming PC that can play at 1440p, stream that gameplay to Twitch, and then take that gameplay, edit in your editing software, and upload it to YouTube in an all-in-one PC that is going to offer way more bang for your buck than one of those crappy pre-built PCs with a nerfed graphics card inside of it, then build this. And the best part is I'm going to show you how to put together this PC step by step, the parts going inside of it, how to install Windows, graphics card drivers, and then my final thoughts on this PC so you can get the best idea possible of what it's going to take to build this PC, which, spoiler alert, isn't going to be much. And the best part is, if you want to build this PC for the lowest price possible, then I've got a really cool PCbuilds.gg link for you in the description down below, neatly laying out all the parts you'll need to build this PC at the lowest prices possible, not just for my US viewers, but even for all of those in the UK and Europe as well. So with all that said, let's get started. Okay, so once you've got all your parts laid out, the three things you'll need to build this PC is a screwdriver, a pair of scissors, a like on this video, that is a part of it. Oh, and I lied, there's actually a fourth part. You're gonna need a USB flash drive, which will be used for your Windows bootable media device, aka this is the thing you're gonna plug into the back of your PC once you finish building it, turn it on, and install Windows. So don't worry about this until later. So for this $1,000 gaming PC build, I'm gonna give you two different CPU and GPU options. Option number one is gonna offer you a slower CPU, but with a much faster graphics card. And then option number two is gonna offer you a faster CPU, but with a slower graphics card. Both will cost about the same, but one of them will have better availability. Either way, both of those options, again, will be available and present to you to check out on your own in the PCbuilds.gg link in the description down below. So for option number one, I've actually got the Ryzen 5 9600X. This currently retails for about $200 US, 6 cores, 12 threads, overclockable, and is on the Zen 5 architecture. Most notably though, it's one of the best bang for your buck CPUs right now for any resolution of gaming, and it's gonna work with this B850 Pro A Wi-Fi motherboard from ASRock, which I'm gonna let you know, you don't have to get this exact motherboard. Heck, I could have something different linked in the PCbuilds.gg link. Just note, whatever I got linked in there will work with this build, because the brand of the motherboard doesn't matter, whether it's MSI, Asus, Gigabyte, or even ASRock. But what this motherboard will also work with is our second CPU option, that being the Ryzen 5 7500F. So this is the second CPU option. It is a bit cheaper than the 9600X, but it's also a 6-core 12-threaded CPU that is overclockable and will also work on the motherboard. But this is about $60 US cheaper than the 9600X, but still offers great performance. And this is actually the CPU I'm gonna ultimately end up going with in this PC build guide, because I wanna use a faster graphics card for more performance. But again, both CPU options will work on this motherboard out of the box without any BIOS update needed. Go ahead and take out your motherboard, bask in its glory. This is actually a pretty nice looking board. We'll put this off to the side, but inside of here, if we open this all up, we're given an IO shield. We will need to mess with this later. And then we're given a quick installation guide, which is a very broad pamphlet. I'm just showing you the basics of what I'm already gonna show you later on in this tutorial. But if we look inside this box, we are given our Wi-Fi antenna, so we will also need this. But the most important thing you'll need for this motherboard isn't included in the box, other than the motherboard itself, and that is the motherboard manual, which I believe you'll be able to find through scanning this QR code here with your phone, or just typing in the name of the motherboard you went with this PC build into Google, clicking on support, and then finding the motherboard manual there with either your phone or a PC. So I've noticed a lot of motherboard brands are not including their motherboard manuals because they want to save on cost and just have you look them up virtually. But don't worry, as long as you follow this build guide, you'll know what to do. So go ahead and take your CPU out. We're gonna go ahead and pull this lever up to expose the socket on our motherboard. And then to properly align the CPU with the socket, look for the triangle here on the top left of the CPU. You're gonna wanna line it up with the triangle found on the top left of the socket, which you'll find on the plastic piece and inside here in the actual metal frame. So go ahead and drop this down gently. There we go. Once you think it's in there, give it a little jiggle. It's all the way in. Press this down. clamp this down, hook it underneath, remove the plastic piece, and this is what the CPU should look like inside the motherboard. Now, if you notice, either the Ryzen 5 7500F or the Ryzen 5 9600X, no matter what CPU you choose, will not come with an included stock CPU cooler like what you see on screen. So there's basically nothing in here, meaning we need to get our own aftermarket cooler. And what I've gone with this build is this Arctic Freezer 36 Black, but again, you don't need this exact CPU cooler to make this PC build work. You can go with a cooler from whatever brand you want. As long as it has AM5 on the title, it's gonna work with this PC. And I guess if you wanted to be future-proof, you could get a much bulkier CPU cooler. Like you could go with a super bulky air cooler from Corsair, like this A115 if you wanted to. Or since I know you guys are gonna ask about this, you could even go with a water cooler with this PC build. You can go up to a 360mm radiator with this. But again, to keep low on costs, I'm going with this simple air cooler from Freezer. Arctic, my bad, not Freezer. But once again, whatever I've linked in the PCBuilds.gg link will be the cheapest yet a good quality CPU cooler you can use with this build guide that'll be compatible. So once again, as you can see, we're given this handy QR code that's going to contain the manual for how to install the Freezer 36, which in this system is really not that bad, as you can see on screen. So I'll catch up with you guys later once I install the CPU cooler. And yes, thermal paste is included in this, or for that matter, any CPU cooler you purchase. Now onto the RAM and SSD. Let's start with the RAM, which is not that complicated really for this build. I'm going with 32 gigabytes of KingBank 6000 megahertz cast latency 28 RAM. Now, again, you don't need this exact kit of RAM to make this PC build work. You can use a kit from another brand if you'd like. I would just make sure it has either a speed of 6000 megahertz cast latency 28 or cast latency 30. And you're golden. But once again, whatever I've linked in the PCBuilds.gg link will work with this PC build. And yeah, if you're wondering, 32 gigabytes is plenty for PC gaming nowadays. What matters more is the speed and cast latency, which is why I want you to get either of those 6000 megahertz cast latency 30 or 28 kits. Then for the RAM, I'm going with this 1 terabyte PCIe Gen 5.0 M.2 SSD from SK Hynix, which in all honesty is completely overkill. So why am I even going with it for this $1,000 PC build guide? Well, SK Hynix, they shot me an email. They're like, yo, you want to use this? And I'm like, yeah. So we're using it. But again, where I've linked in that PCBuilds.gg link is gonna be much more cost effective and more realistic for this $1,000 build guide. It's gonna be a PCIe Gen 4.0 M.2 SSD with a DRAM controller. So once again, check out the PCBuilds.gg link if you don't know what you're looking for. Otherwise, let's install these onto the motherboard. So to put our RAM into the motherboard, we're gonna go ahead and open up the slots here on the sides for RAM slots A2 and B2, as you can see here. You're always gonna wanna put 2 sticks of RAM in these 2 channels right here that are farthest from the CPU with one open one in between. Also, as you can see, the inserts here on the RAM stick are different sizes. So this is only gonna go in one way. So if it isn't going in one way, just flip it around. But what matters is that once you think it's gonna go in, give it a firm press like that. So you can hear the click and both of these latches go down. And then here's the other one. Give it a firm press like that. And then for our M.2 SSD, go ahead and remove this. Take out the M.2 heatsink, but as you can see, there's this plastic piece we need to remove, so that way the M.2 SSD makes contact with the heatsink. We'll put that off to the side. Then we'll take out our M.2 SSD. As you can see, there's a little insert right here on the actual connection to the M.2 SSD. This is to help you line it up, so this will only go in one way. There we go. Give it a click in there, like that. And then there's this little tab down here that we got to pull back so then we can push the SSD all the way in there. And then we'll push the tab over the M.2 SSD to lock it into place. And then let's go ahead and put back on the M.2 heatsink. All right, and we've got our M.2 SSD in there. This is what everything should look like. And now let's go ahead and put this inside the case, which I've chosen the Lee Vector V100. Now, again, you don't technically have to get this exact case, as long as it's an ATX PC case. So if it has ATX in the title of the case, it will work with this PC build. But I want to take a shot at this new mainstream PC case from Lee, because they're a good case brand, but this case comes in two different flavors, in either black or white, and one without fans, which is what we have today, or one with fans pre-included, which is what I recommend for first-time PC builders if you don't want to go through the hassle of installing and wiring up fans yourself. Get that if you want to have those all connected in a singular connector that you can just then plug into your motherboard when the time comes. But I've got some spare Lean fans we're going to install in this later on to make it look prettier than the $75 model with those fans. But we'll see how this case pans out. But as usual, we're going to need to go ahead and access this right here. This box right here should contain the manuals and screws to all the things we'll possibly need to mess with in this PC case. So if you're wondering, no, you won't need to buy your own screws. They should all come in here. And we're even given a GPU sag bracket. Oh yeah, and I see where it goes. Or at least I think I do. We'll see later on when we build this. But let's go ahead and open up the rear panel. And amongst all of this, you should find the case manual, which we have right here. Now this doesn't just go for Lean, but no matter what case you ultimately end up choosing within this PC build guide, there should be some sort of case manual that shows you all the screws that you'll need to place wherever you want inside this PC case, so you know what kind of screws are for the motherboard, the power supply, or anything else. It even tells you here how to install that graphics card anti-sag bracket, which you can follow yourself. But once again, if you have any questions or if you're confused at all for how to work with a PC case that you choose, always refer to the manual that was included with that PC case, and it'll show you how to do what. So now we're gonna go ahead and put this inside the PC case. So in order to put the motherboard into the PC case, the first thing we got to do is go ahead and insert the IO shield. Now, if you're wondering how you're going to orient this, imagine that the motherboard is going in and you're probably going to want to orient the IO shield in the correct direction. You'll know because if you place in the motherboard and it's not lining up correctly, then you got to take this out. But putting this in is actually pretty straightforward. I just like to click in one corner with one hand, click in another corner with another hand, click in another corner, click in the last corner. There we go. I've got all four corners in. So make sure you do the IO shield first. Now, no matter what case you choose, there's one important thing you always got to do, and you have to make sure you have standoffs that are covering all the holes for your motherboard. So there are 9 standoffs inside the PC case, but if we were to pull over the motherboard, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 holes. So there's 9 standoffs, but there's 10 holes because here is a standoff that isn't covered inside the PC case, this one right here. So if we look again at the PC case, here's that missing standoff, and fortunately inside this toolbox right here, you're given an additional motherboard standoff. One of these little guys right here. And if you're wondering how you're gonna screw this in, you can do it by hand, but you're also given this adapter that also came inside the PC case. So you can properly screw in this standoff with a screwdriver. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this in there initially by hand, and then I'm gonna go ahead and take this adapter with the screwdriver and fully screw this in. As you can see, there's our missing standoff covered, and now we're good to place in the motherboard. Now, if you're wondering for what screws you're gonna need to use, you're gonna use these thin and small screws that are designated by the case manual. So once again, if you have any questions at all for what to do with what with this PC case, always check the case manual. However, there's one cool thing we can do with the Vector V100. We're actually gonna go ahead and install the GPU sag bracket along with the motherboard. So first, put in the motherboard. We're gonna need to butt it up to the rear of the PC case so it lines up with the IO shield and we can see the threads of the standoffs individually. And now before I start screwing into each of those standoffs, I'm actually gonna go ahead and use these longer screws that are provided by the V100 that we're eventually gonna use for our GPU sag bracket. So these will basically screw on top of our existing standoffs and basically extend them. So now with those two in, I'm gonna go ahead and screw in the rest of these by hand, which I want you to note, I'm gonna screw these in, but only about 3/4 of the way in. I don't wanna tighten these. And then finally, with this last screw I'm gonna put into the motherboard, I'm gonna go ahead and fully tighten this one up. So all the screws up until this point, I've only put in about 3/4 of the way in. But with this last screw, I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this one up all the way. And now in a crisscross formation across the corners of the motherboard, I'm gonna go ahead and individually tighten up each of these screws until they fully button out. That way we put equal pressure on all sides of the motherboard. So there's no motherboard flexing, and that way the motherboard is properly aligned with the case. Now next up, let's go ahead and install the sag bracket, which again, the instructions for this are given in the case manual, but we're gonna put this bar down here, click that into place, and then we're gonna use the screws that are designated on the manual, screw these in. And then once again, if you check out the case manual, it'll show you how to use this washer and screw combination for these. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of start screwing this in so it goes into the bracket, but not all the way. And then as far as where I'm gonna place this, I don't know, because that entirely depends on your graphics card. But as you can see, we have some adjustment right here for the screw, which we'll be able to get once we fully screw it in. So we do have a little bit of play with this sag bracket right here. So for the moment, I'm gonna estimate we're gonna put it right here. But again, we won't know for sure until we put in our graphics card, but you can always adjust later. So as you can see, we got a little bit of movement right here for the sag bracket. And then once we think we got it in the right spot, that's where I'd assume you tighten it down all the way like that. But again, we'll wait and see until we get our graphics card. Okay, and next up for the power supply, I'm going with this 650 watt 80 plus bronze power supply from Corsair. But once again, the exact power supply you want to use in this PC build doesn't entirely matter. Just what matters is what brand you get it from, because there's definitely those cheap power supply brands out there on Amazon that sell units for a really good price, but you know they're too good to be true. And that isn't the case with quality power supply units like what I have linked in the PC build.gg link in the description down below. Those will be similar to the one that I'm using in this build guide, so a quality 650 watt 80 plus bronze unit, which by the way, comes with its own power cable, so you will need to save this for later. And this is a non-modular power supply, so all of the cables are already bundled into the power supply. And if you're wondering how much wattage this PC needs, well, for that, I go off of the recommended power supply for the graphics card we're choosing for the build guide. So if we look on the website of your graphics card and see its recommended power supply or its minimum power supply, just make sure you choose something that is above the minimum amount, which for this, 650 is gonna be plenty. Anyways, if we look inside here in the box, we're given some power supply screws, the same of which also come inside this box right here for the case. Let's go ahead and turn around the PC case. Now let's take our CX650, bring it around here, shove it in the back. Let's go ahead and butt up the power supply to the rear of the PC case so we can see the threads for our screws. And we'll go ahead and just start screwing these in one by one. And if you're wondering, there's this switch you see right here on the back of the power supply. And if you're wondering what that does, basically when it comes time to turn on the PC for the first time, we want this to be on the 1. But if we're not gonna turn on the PC like we're still building in it, then let's have it flicked to the 0. That way we don't accidentally turn on the PC when we press the power button. All right, and that's in. Now at this point, I'd assume if you're a beginner, you may have bought the version of this PC case that comes with the pre-included fans, which means they're already gonna be wired up and you'll be all good to go. But if you didn't and you wanted to use your own fans, which is what I'm doing in this PC build guide, I'm gonna go ahead and install these fans right now. Here's a little montage just to see me doing it, but it's gonna be the same steps as installing any other regular case fans. But these ones are special because they are from Lian Li. These are the Lian Li UniFan CLs. So this is a wireless pack we're all gonna bundle up and use with their Lian Li software to be able to control our RGB wirelessly without the need of any cables. So I'll go ahead and install these and catch up with you guys for the graphics card. Okay, so I've gone ahead and installed these case fans. And once again, if you bought the V100 with included case fans, you could just skip over that step. But now let's go ahead and start plugging everything into the motherboard before we put in the graphics card. So just to explain what each of these cables are, these are from the case fans that I just installed. So I'll just plug these into the motherboard. These cables right here that are conveniently zip tied up are your front IO cables, which we'll plug in first. And then all these cables down here are our power connectors. So first, let's deal with these. So let's start with our USB 3.0 connector, this big chunky boy right here. So you can see there's a little notch here on the connector that's gonna line up with this insert here on the connection. So you're gonna basically bring the 2 and 2 in together like this. Click that through and that's one done. And then right below it is our USB Type-C connector. You can't miss it. It literally says USB Type-C on the motherboard manual for where this is supposed to go. which I should say, if you're wondering where I'm finding all the connectors for this across the motherboard, once again, reference the motherboard manual, and you should see early on in the manual, there's this cool map that shows you where all the connectors are across the motherboard, and then a little legend as to what connector does what. So if you're wondering where I'm finding like the USB Type-C or the HD audio connector, I'm just looking at that. So here's our front panel connector. This is basically our power button, and this is gonna go down here on the bottom right where it says FP Panel 1. And again, no matter if your motherboard is Asus, MSI, Gigabyte, ASRock, or whatever, it's always gonna be there on the bottom right. Just like our HD audio connector, this is always gonna go in the bottom left of your motherboard, no matter the brand, easy. Now we've got some other cables right here. One of these is our 5-volt ARGB header. This is to control this little RGB strip that goes across the PC case. And this is gonna go into any of these 3-pin ARGB headers on the motherboard. Doesn't matter which one, as long as you plug it into one of these. And this could also be the same for your PC case fans. If you got the V100 with the included ARGB fans, they may already be hooked up to this connector right here. And once again, plug that in, and there you go. Now right here is our fan header for these 3 fans that we got with our wireless RGB fans from Lee & Lee. I'm gonna go ahead and plug this into one of the channel fan headers down here. It literally doesn't matter which one you choose. I'm gonna choose the one that is closest to the fans for no particular reason. There we go. And then I've got one more fan header for this rear case fan that I installed in the back of the PC case. I'm gonna put this into the closest fan header to this cable. There we go, just like that. Okay, now let's go ahead and install our CPU power cable, which is gonna be here on the top left of the motherboard. And if we look at the connector, we got this latch right here that is going to line up with a notch here on the top of the connection, meaning this is only gonna go in one way, and you'll hear an audible click when it goes in. So I'm gonna go ahead and move this around. Ooh, actually, I'm gonna take off the top panel here so I can get a better angle. There we go. Press this in all the way. That's one of them in there. And let's get this other one. I'm gonna twist this cable around. There we go. And fully insert that in. Make sure I hear that click so it's all the way in. There we go. There's our CPU power cable fully in. Next up, we've got our motherboard power connector, this big chunky boy right here. Once again, you got a latch. It's gonna line up with this notch here on the connection, meaning it's only gonna go in one way. I'm gonna bend this around, bring it in, plug it in, press it in. Make sure to get it all the way in there. The latch is down, and there we go. Now I'm gonna go ahead and start threading in the PCIe power cable for our graphics card through this hole down here. There you go, it says PCIe. This is gonna be for our graphics card, which let's now talk about now. Okay, for the graphics card, I'm gonna give you 2 options. So again, no matter what CPU you chose in the beginning, whether it's the cheaper 7500F or the more expensive 9600X, both of those will work with either of the GPUs I'm about to recommend. But one is definitely more expensive than the other. So let's start with the cheaper option. For $300, you can pick up the Intel Arc B580, which is an entry-level 1440p gaming graphics card with 12 gigabytes of VRAM. This can do ray tracing. This can utilize Intel XeSS and AMD FSR for FPS upscaling, but if you do a bit of content creation on the side, this includes the integrated Intel QuickSync codec, which is really nice for all of my video editors out there, especially those of you who use DaVinci Resolve or Premiere Pro, and you need something for that complex 4K 10-bit 422 footage that you're trying to edit live in your timeline. So this is pretty good, but for this build guide, I want to use the brand spanking new Radeon RX 9060 XT. So don't worry, I've got both GPU options linked in the description down below in that PCBuild.gg link if you want to check either of them out. But the 9060 XT here has a retail price of $350, but by the time we publish this video, could be more than that. Probably will be more than that, which is why I'm giving you both options, and once again, both options will work in this PC build. But more or less, the 9060 XT is even faster than the B580. This comes with 16 gigabytes of VRAM. And if you're wondering, AMD has caught up to NVIDIA in terms of ray tracing this generation, which we can see here in the 9060 XT. It performs very well in ray tracing, especially when compared to the 5060 Ti and the 5060. We're also given access to AMD FSR4, which is now on par with NVIDIA DLSS. But do note, FSR4 is only available to RX 9000 GPUs, not everything else like RX 7000 and even other AMD and Intel graphics cards. Otherwise, I really want to see how this performs. This should be a really good bang for your buck 1440p gaming graphics card. So not an entry level, but a mainstream 1440p gaming graphics card. All right, so in order to put this graphics card inside the PC case, it's gonna be pretty straightforward. So first of all, we need to make room for it inside the PC case. So we need to take out the PCI slots here on the case that are gonna occupy it, which looks like it'll be these top 2 slots. There we go. Now remember, we've got this GPU sag bracket holder right here, but it may be too far down, so we'll have to move it later. But otherwise, to actually put this inside the motherboard, take off the PCI Express cover. I'm also gonna take off these protective covers here for the graphics cards so we can have access to their display ports. By the way, as you can see, there are 3 ports, so you can use up to 3 monitors with this graphics card. And then let's bring this in. There's that exposed PCI Express slot, so now we're gonna go ahead and try to insert it into the motherboard gently. So actually, I think I did 1 slot too high, so I need to remove this one. There we go, now that's gonna fit. So this is basically gonna go in. I can see the PCI Express slot line up with the graphics card. So now I'm gonna give it a firm press and you should hear a click. Or I guess a thud. That is in there. There is our graphics card sag bracket holder, so we'll have to move that up. But otherwise, let's go ahead and screw this back into place in the case. And finally, here is that PCIe power cable. We're gonna plug right into there. Once again, you got a latch here on the connector that's gonna line up with this notch here on the top. I'm gonna connect the 2 and 2 in together. There we go, that is in there. Now I'm gonna go ahead and move the sag bracket so it's touching the graphics card now. There we go, I'm gonna press that up with one hand, screw it in with the other. So now there is no way that graphics card is going to sag. I'm also gonna put in our PCI cover here we accidentally took off. Finally, the last thing we gotta do is go ahead and take our Wi-Fi antennas from the motherboard box and put these into the back of the PC case right here. And with that done, let's go ahead and pull out that Windows bootable media device. You gotta create one of these, and I'll see if this PC turns on. Okay, we've got the PC in the setup. Now let's go ahead and turn it on. But before we do that, we gotta get our cables plugged in. So first and foremost, if you remember, this is the power cable that came with your power supply. We wanna go ahead and plug one end into the back of the PC and the other into a wall outlet. And then we'll go ahead and flick the switch from the 0 to the 1 because we are ready to turn on the PC for the first time. Next, and a lot of people mess this up, is you need to plug in your display cable, so this can be DisplayPort or HDMI, it does not matter, into where your graphics card is, not where your motherboard is. So look where the cable's coming from. It's coming from all the way down here. It's not up here, it's not where the motherboard is. Your motherboard doesn't have any graphics, your graphics card does, AKA the GPU. And then plug the other end into your monitor. And then while you're here, and a lot of people forget this, plug in the power cable to your monitor. Then of course, don't forget to plug in your keyboard and your mouse. You should know how to do this already. And then finally, now you wanna go ahead and get that flash drive ready for your Windows bootable media device. And if you're wondering how to create one of these, you can do it for free with any USB flash drive that is 8 GB or bigger through using the video tutorial linked in the description down below. So once you go ahead and do that, we'll go ahead and plug this into the back of the PC, into any USB 3.0 port, so any of the blue ones here. And once we've got that, we're gonna press the power button, we're gonna wait and let the PC do its thing. Ooh, we got a display. All right, and once you see the brand of your motherboard pop up, a little spinny circle is gonna come up. There we go. And now we should see the Windows 11 tutorial installation screen. Let's go ahead and install this. Okay, so once you reach the Windows screen here, go ahead and hit next, next, install, agree, next. Here is where you can go ahead and enter in your Windows product key if you have one. If you don't, that's fine. You can enter one later. Just click I don't have a product key. Here you can go ahead and select Windows 11 Home or Pro, does not matter. I'm gonna choose Pro because I'm just feeling it for today. Then go ahead and accept these terms and conditions. Now here we're going to see two things. We're going to see our primary SSD and the USB drive that we just used for installing Windows onto this PC. So don't use the USB drive. You don't want to install Windows on that. You want to install it on our 1TB SSD. So go ahead and click Create Partition and apply. Now here you'll see three different things, but you're already selected on the right one, that being the full 931 gigabytes. Hit Next, install, and you're basically just gonna wait right here. All right, once you reach this screen, go ahead and choose your country, choose your keyboard layout. Now here, you're just going to go ahead and connect to your internet if you have an Ethernet cable plugged into the back of the PC, or you may have a Wi-Fi adapter like this that you can just plug into the back of the PC and then connect to the internet. Because although your motherboard does indeed have a Wi-Fi connection on it, you don't have drivers for it. So there's two ways you can go about this. You can go ahead and load up the motherboard website page of the motherboard you chose, click on support, and then download the Wi-Fi drivers for that motherboard. And then you can actually go ahead and install those drivers straight from the Windows installation screen. You can actually pull up your USB flash drive on here, open it up through there, and then proceed with installation. Or you can do what I'm about to show you and completely bypass all of this by typing in Shift F10 to open up the command prompt here. And then I'm going to type in start ms-cxh:/local only, enter, and then here we're just going to go ahead and make just a local user for our computer. So we'll call this subscribe to, we can't finish Volt, but here you're welcome to enter in your password, and you can add on an actual Microsoft account to this later on if you'd like. It's recommended to do that if you're going to use any games that require a Microsoft account as a login, so like Halo or Forza. Otherwise, this completely skips everything, and we'll get to the Windows 11 desktop real soon. Okay, so we hit a screen like this, and this is just allowing you to choose what privacy selections you want. I just turn all of them off. And then here we're at the Windows 11 desktop. Now, as you'll see, we haven't installed any sort of Wi-Fi drivers yet for our motherboard. But again, if you have a wire connection to your router with an Ethernet cable, you don't have to worry about this. But if you have to install drivers, this is what I do. So I went ahead and took a spare USB that I have, plugged it into another computer, and I downloaded the Wi-Fi drivers for this motherboard by searching up the name of the motherboard in Google, clicking on support, and then downloading the necessary files that I needed for the Wi-Fi and even for the LAN just to be safe. And then I extracted them onto this USB. And now with them on this USB, I'm gonna go ahead and plug it into the back of this PC here. There we go, there's our USB. I'm gonna go ahead and click on this, open folder files. Here we have our two different LAN drivers. Well, one of them's a LAN, one of them's wireless. So we're gonna go ahead and click yes, install, and there's the other one. We'll get to that once this one finishes up. Finish. I'll go ahead and install this. Yes, next, install. Here we go, finish. And then if we click here on internet, we'll see now it says available. So we'll click on expand, and now we'll go ahead and connect to our internet. All right, we are connected. And now we have this little pop-up from ASRock, or it could be Gigabyte, MSI, doesn't matter the motherboard manufacturer, that'll let you download the drivers and utilities for your motherboard. So hit yes, hit yes. Now we've got our chipset driver, our Bluetooth driver, and our HD audio drivers. That is pretty much all we need because we already have Wi-Fi drivers, so we're good to go on there. So we'll click on update, let this run, and let it do its thing. The system will reboot, and then we'll install graphics card drivers. All right, so once all those drivers finish up, we can go ahead and install some graphics card drivers. So if you have an AMD graphics card, just type in AMD drivers, or if you have an Intel Arc graphics card, just type in Intel Arc drivers. And on either of these topmost links, you will find, as you can see right here, we've got the game ready drivers for the Intel Arc B580. If you go with this graphics card, or if you go with AMD, you can go ahead and click on the Windows 10 or 11 drivers, and this will automatically detect your Radeon RX 9060 XT. Download both of those, run them. They won't require any special setup, and then I'll meet you guys in the BIOS. Okay, so our graphics card drivers finished installing. We'll hit restart in a little bit, but I just want to mention, if there are any drivers you possibly missed with your motherboard, you can always look up the name of your motherboard on Google, go to its motherboard website page, scroll down here to where it says support, click on that, and here you can download the latest BIOS or any other utilities or drivers, including RGB, which I'm gonna go ahead and download. That's polychrome RGB. I'm gonna run this, and once I do that, then I'm gonna go ahead and restart the system, and then I'll meet you guys in the BIOS. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and restart the PC. And to enter the BIOS, it's super simple. We're just gonna take our keyboard here, and we're gonna spam the delete key on our keyboard. So this button right here that says delete, as soon as the Motherboard brand pops up on our screen. All right, delete key, and I think we're in. And now let's do a few things in the BIOS. Let's go ahead and click on easy mode. And then right here, we'll go ahead and turn on EXPO for our memory. So we just did that. It's on EXPO, so that is all good. Here we can actually go ahead and enable performance boost overdrive, which I'm gonna go ahead and do because we have an aftermarket CPU cooler. So that'll slightly boost our Ryzen 7500F without needing to tweak anything. And that's actually pretty much it. So at this point, go ahead and click on save and exit right up here, and then you're ready to get to gaming. All right, we're gonna kick off benchmarks with Marvel Rivals, and don't worry, we're gonna be testing a lot of other games after this, but let me show you guys the graphics settings. We are running this game at 2560 by 1440, so 1440p, and we have the ability to use AMD FSR frame generation, so we have that turned on. We have AMD FSR3 set to quality. Overall, I chose high settings, but if we went to medium settings, we get even more frame rate. So let me show you how good we get on high. And I'm just floating here. I'm moving really slow. Anyways, frame rate is on the top left. I know there's some like weird tutorial instructions that are kind of in the way. So if you like what you see, then fantastic. Oh yeah, this is the Overwatch clone. Yeah. But hey, I'm down for this, man. Blizzard sucks. Anyways, we're getting 165 FPS. So if you have a 1440p, 144 hertz monitor, or 165 hertz, you can max out Marvel Rivals at 1440p on that refresh rate of a monitor. So while we're dead, because we can, let's go ahead and optimize. So this actually recommends medium settings. So let's see how good we get. And I'll also set this down to, we'll do performance. We'll see how high of a frame rate we can get. Well, now we're 200 and above our Marvel Rivals. Yeah. Great. Are we good here? I think we're good here. We're gonna move on to another game. Okay, here is Oblivion Remastered. Oh, where's my shield? I need my shield. Actually, oh my goodness. Oh, there it is. Anyways, we're here in the plains of Oblivion, chilling at like, I don't know, 100 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is for Celsius. I'm sorry, Europeans. Or I should say the rest of the world. Anyways, we have the game running at 1440p, and I'm going to show you guys the graphics settings a little bit. So here under display, we've got ultra settings. Ultra settings for everything. High settings for Lumen Software RT, and we've got FSR enabled, frame generation on, and I set the mode to balanced. We can do quality if you want a slightly more sharper image. I'm fine with balanced because we're getting what, 150-ish FPS. So again, if you have a 1440p 144 hertz monitor, if you want to max out the refresh rate of that monitor with this game at 144 FPS, you can just about do it. But it's a single player game. It's Oblivion. You're here to be immersed, not to get pure frame rate. So heck, I'm gonna go ahead and just do it. Let's set this to quality, see how this looks. Can you guys tell a difference? Maybe if you were to pixel peep. I can't right now as I'm playing it, but yeah, this PC's running it. It is running Oblivion Remastered. Does this meet your expectations for a $1,000 gaming PC? I gotta know. But yeah, I mean, game looks good. Game looks good. I don't know what else I gotta say. Let's try another game. Next up, we got Call of Duty. I thought, why not? Let's go ahead and run it, see how it does. I'll show you guys the graphics settings in a little bit. Oh my gosh! 280? What? No. No, that's too high. That's too high. Okay, hold up. I have no clue what I'm doing, but we're getting 280 frames per second in Call of Duty at 1440p. I'm absolutely dead. Go in there. Take a bullet for me, man. Oh my God. All right. So right now we are running the game. Balance settings. But here's the trick. We got AMD FSR frame generation turned on. That's why we're getting such a high frame rate, which is why I'm gonna bump things up to ultra. because it's too easy to run this game at balance. Oh, that looks better. That looks better. And we are... Is this running at 1440p? It is. What? Goodness, what the heck, AMD? This... Oh my... Oh, I got one. I got one, and I'm dead. I'm dead. Oh, I'm not dead. Yeah, sorry. I'm gonna quit the lobby. We're definitely not gonna hold that lead. I'm sorry, teammates. Oh, but I got another one though. All right, this is too easy. This is too easy. Let's amp up the graphics. Quality. Extreme. And we got, let's put this to quality. We got everything bumped up to the max. All right, everything turned up. We are still above 200. What? You know, this is just cheating, man. I am surprised. I am actually surprised. I mean, if we turn off ray tracing, we're gonna not get 200 FPS. Not ray tracing. If we turn off frame generation, we're definitely not gonna get 200 FPS. But we got 1, 2. Hey, yo! If you play Call of Duty, man, this PC's it. Damn. Anyways, I gotta ditch my teammates. Let's do another game. All right, next up we got Counter-Strike 2. We are running the game at medium settings at not 1440p, but actually 1080p. Oh my. And I'm sorry, bot. Let me go and show you guys the graphics settings just so you're aware. Medium settings. We even got AMD Anti-Lag 2.0 turned on. If we want to get even more frame rate, we could go to low settings. But I mean, we're getting above 200 FPS, y'all. If you got a 1440p, 144 Hz, or 165 Hz monitor, you're already maxing out the refresh rate of that monitor since we're getting above 165 FPS. But even if you had a 1440p, 240 Hz, you're also gonna be fine. But I know there's a lot of you out there who are very psychotic when you play this game, and you actually don't care about graphics. You care about literal frame rate. And if that's the case, let's go ahead, go even lower. Are we alive? Oh my god, we're alive. This is low settings. This is for you absolute maniacs who need maximum frame rate and you don't care how crappy the game looks, because at low settings, we're still getting above 200 FPS actually. I thought we were gonna get closer to 300. Oh, I mean, we're getting maybe an extra 20 to 30 guys, this looks like ass. I'm gonna switch this back to medium. Oh yeah, that's better. Let's get this last kill. Come on. I'm sorry, man. Oh. All right. Yep. CS2 is not gonna have a problem at all. Let's try another game. Okay, I want to do a racing game next because I owe it to play something other than a first-person shooter or something that involves shooting. And this is a cool game. I'll show you guys the graphics settings in a little bit. I'm running the game at high settings overall at 1440p, but I'm running the new Fujimi Kaido track here in the Acura NSX. Frame rate is on the top left. We're at, right now, chilling at about 120 something. Oh wow, and this is such a much needed addition to the game. This should have been in Forza Motorsport at launch. Now again, I've got the game at high settings, so let me quickly show you guys those graphics settings. So settings, if we go here to graphics, we've got it set to high, and I think this is perfectly playable. 120 FPS at 1440p at high settings, that's great. But I know some of you people out there just won't accept that. So let's go to medium settings. And let's make sure that, yep, motion blur and all that unnecessary stuff is completely off. Now at medium settings, what do we get? Well, now we're well above 120. We're about 132. We were almost, okay, now 144. And trust me, in a multiplayer lobby, this is gonna be plenty of frame rate, man. Yeah, 100 and, y'all, we did it. If you got a 1440p, 144 Hz monitor, you will be able to max out Forza Motorsport at medium settings 1440p, which I think is pretty good achievement if I'm being honest. This game is still pretty nasty to run, even in 2025. Anyways, guys, this passes. This absolutely passes. Let's finish out with, I think, one more game. All right, let's finish things off with Fortnite, aka Stutter Night, because it don't matter what GPU I run this game on, it's always gonna stutter. Although it's not too bad right now. We're getting about, yeah, 3.4, yeah, under 5 milliseconds response times. That's pretty good. Anyways, we might die, and I'm cool with that because I hate this game. But hey, look at the the frame rate on the top left. If you like what you see, great. Oh yeah, hello there. Good to see you. And let's see, someone might be visiting me soon, but what I will say is, I'm running this game on Performance API because I know you people, you just flat out refuse to run this game on normal graphics settings. When it comes to Fortnite, all you care about is frame rate, frame rate, frame rate. And that's exactly what I'm gonna give you. So let me show you guys the graphics settings real quick. Settings, like I said, we have it set to the Performance API. We could go with DirectX 12, but you know, I don't care. Performance API, Epic settings. I mean, it's Fortnite. It's always gonna look like a kid's game. Oh, is this a NPC? What? Oh, was that a player? See, I have no clue what the hell is happening in this game anymore, man. Like, was that an NPC? Was that a player? It really felt like that wasn't a player because, I don't know. He just let me kill him or her. But hey, I mean, over 200 FPS just early game means you're gonna get at least 144 and above in the late game. So I better not see any complaints. This thing's gonna run Fortnite really well. I mean, yeah, it's gonna stutter a little bit here and there as you just saw, but that's stutter night for you. Doesn't matter what graphics card you run Fortnite on, it's gonna stutter because that's how mediocre of a game this is. Okay, I'm done. I'm done. Oh, wait. There's one on the other side. Oh, so good. Okay, the big initial question. Should you build this PC? Actually, despite how bad the graphics card market is, this is quite good. And I've actually checked up on RX 9060 XT prices for the 16 gigabyte model after release of this graphics card, and they're not too marked up in price. That's promising to see. But the first thing I want to answer that a lot of you guys are going to bring up in the comments section is the fact that I'm using an ASRock motherboard. So a lot of people may think there could be issues having an ASRock board and a Ryzen CPU and those potentially failing. And what I have to say in reply to that is, sure, there is a risk, but as I've used this system, what I did is I went ahead and updated it to the latest ASRock BIOS, the 3.25. 3.20 was meant to fix a lot of those potential issues you may have seen online for Ryzen CPUs on ASRock motherboards, and I would assume the 3.25 BIOS update just built on top of that. Not to mention my own personal rig that uses a 9950X 3D and an ASRock Taichi X870E motherboard on the latest BIOS update as well has yet to crap out on me. So really, I mean, sure, if you really want to be pedantic about it and intentionally avoid ASRock, sure, go ahead and pick up a Gigabyte or MSI motherboard or Asus. Doesn't matter. The ASRock one I have in this build has been working fine, and the ASRock board that I have in my personal PC also hasn't managed to damage my CPU. So again, as long as I feel like you're on the latest BIOS update, you'll be fine. No need to freak out about it. Otherwise, as far as performance goes, wow. Yeah, actually, for a $1,000 gaming PC build, I was expecting this to actually have about the same performance as last year's build, but for some titles on that 9060 XT, like Call of Duty, it just pulls ahead by a lot. Also, I was a little bit worried with the VRAM because although it's 16 gigabytes, it does have a 128-bit memory bus with, again, GDDR6 modules. So I was concerned if memory bandwidth was going to be concerned with this PC, but it doesn't look like that's the case. It's still fast enough to play games at 1440p on higher graphical settings, and you won't run into any frame time issues with any micro stutters. So that was good to see. Other than on Fortnite, because Fortnite sucks. And the Unreal Engine 5 that is behind that game is causing a stuttering mess for all brands of graphics cards, not just AMD. So if you want to build this PC, again, check out the PCbuilds.gg link in the description down below. There you can find all the links you'll need to build this PC completely from start to finish. And again, there's two versions of this PC case. I have the one here that didn't come with any fans, so I put in my own Leanly custom fans, but I recommend getting the version of this case with case fans pre-installed if you are a first-time PC builder, which once again, all of that can be found in the PCbuilds.gg link. So with all that said, thank you so much for watching, and this is the Scatterable channel, signing out.